release from in the morning.
I think you're making excuses for dealers. The fact of the matter is that's a completely irrelevant piece of information.
I get it.
Thanks for joining us. Welcome to a Refresh Friday. What's today? September 8th?
September 8th it is.
It is.
Already a quarter of the way into September. So if you're selling cars, we hope you're on track for a strong month, 2 more months, selling months to start getting Christmas covered. I am Big Tom LaPointe. We've got Ryan Leslie, our special guest out of St. Louis. Jeff Kirshner, legendary founder of DealerRefresh in Hagerstown, Maryland. And Ryan Girardi, host and super tech fixer, because Facebook was not cooperating and Ryan got it handled. So
yeah, we got it working.
Thanks everybody for checking in and watching us live. Thanks everybody who's watching this broadcast after the fact. And if you're catching some of the podcasts, we appreciate that too. And
so you were planning to be in Florida, but now you're stuck there because of Hurricane Irma. And I think you said you're bringing your family up. You're flying. They're driving up.
They're driving to Atlanta. Was the closest airplane we could catch, and flying in hopefully without incident. So I'm thankful and blessed to get that to happen, because it was concerning. It was scary. 20 years in Florida. I was FEMA certified when I was in a dealership. I handled the emergency planning for our store, and this storm is the scariest I'd ever seen.
Yeah, from what I understand, Irma is calculated to be, I think, the wettest hurricane ever to hit land in the U.S., which is ironic because Harvey was considered at the time, I mean, just 2 weeks ago, it was considered the biggest hurricane to hit land at least since 2005. So we talked about in last week's broadcast on Refresh Friday, which was really on the heels of the tail end of Harvey. And we really got a feel for the depth of the impact that it had on that area, that it had on dealers. Jack Behar was up here. He dialed in through the phone. He was dialing in from Houston, and really kind of gave us some insights as to his experience and what he's seeing. That led to our discussion in the forums around direct marketing, which is why Ryan Leslie which is why you're here, because that became a big part of that conversation. We thought we need to get Ryan in up here. So if I could provide a little background, for those listening, and I think from our conversations, we're really seeing there's 3 needs here going on. There's the immediate need right now of dealerships in peril down, in the South, in the South Texas area, and now in the Florida area. Dealerships are put in a difficult position. It's going to affect the local economy there at the auto retail level, and I think it'll have a national effect too. I think reports suggest over 30,000 dealership employee personnel affected by Hurricane Harvey, possibly being displaced. So it's been nice. It's been great to see the automotive community come together to help dealers out. But the forum thread, which I'll share in a second, really speaks to the idea of cause marketing, which is a whole nother way that dealers can get involved with the community. So I'm going to bring that forum thread up. But Ryan, if I could maybe segue over to you. And actually before that, why don't you fill us in on what's new in your life? Because you've had a big change recently from moving into Automotive Mastermind.
I have. I've joined Automotive Mastermind, and it's related to what we're talking about, the decision to make that move for me. So for those that are just watching, I've been around DealerRefresh, I think, Jeff, since April of 2009. So
I know.
It
goes way back.
And I was one of those guys that didn't really share who I was before there was a forum on the blog post. I was writing things that I wasn't sure my company was going to support, so I couldn't give up who I was. So things have changed for me, but I'm so glad to be here and thankful for the opportunity to join you guys and talk about this. It's something that I'm really passionate about. Some of that has to do with how the DealerRefresh community supported and rallied around me when I was having, frankly, the storms in my life that I couldn't have handled on my own. And it was the automotive community that rallied around me. So I'm thankful, Jeff, to you and Jessica Ruth and all the people that made that happen for me a couple years ago. And I'll kind of share how I ended up at Automotive Mastermind as quickly as I can. I know we've got a short amount of time, but it's related to this issue of cause marketing and how your employees at the dealership can also rally around the causes that you support. For those of you that don't know me, I lost a child to cancer in 2015, and it would have destroyed me if it weren't for my friends in this industry and the ones that came around and really, supported me through that financially and more emotionally. I wear a pin, and you'll see it in my LinkedIn profile. You'll see it. If I have a lapel, I'm wearing a pin, and that pin belonged to my son. So I wore it on an interview to go speak with Marco Schnabel, who is the founder of Automotive Mastermind. I had some friends there, so I'd heard some great things about the company, and not a commercial, but I heard some great things, and I wanted to go investigate it. And I sat down with Marco, and he asked me about my pin. And I looked him in the eye, I'll not forget this, and said, we're about to get to know each other really well because you've asked a question that I always answer. If somebody asks me about my pin, I tell them, because it's an opportunity to talk about the lack of funding for pediatric cancers. It's an opportunity to talk about this cause that I'm so passionate about, something that drives me in my everyday work. So I said to him, we're going to get to know each other real well. So I told him about a 2-year battle with a disease that didn't have a cure for a kid that was 10. And I told him about how much need there was, and how many kids were getting diagnosed with this, and how many we lose each year to this disease. He gave me an hour and a half. We were scheduled for 30 minutes. And during that time, when we wrapped up, he said to me, Ryan, I don't care if you work for me. If this doesn't work out, that's fine, but I want to help you with this. This is something I'm passionate about now because you've shared your passion with me. And so I took the job. I knew that minute this is where I wanted to be. And I wanted to work with people that had that kind of passion and shared a passion that I had. So I called him on this. It's actually been earlier this month. Many of you know Paul Jimenez, good friend of mine, different path to the same destination. Paul also lost a child to pediatric cancer. Paul's a great guy, and he's doing incredible things in his son's honor. His wife and him they have a golf tournament that they've done twice. Got to participate in this last one. Terrible golfer, but enjoyed being able to be there for the cause. I went to Marco and said, I'm going to call you on this now. This is a promise you made to me when we interviewed. I'm going to see if you're really going to stick up for what you said you would do. And I asked him for a small amount of money to support Paul's golf tournament for Paulie Strong. And he came back and said, absolutely, without missing a beat. Marco said, here's the money you asked for and more. And what can I do personally to help with this? Where does this all tie into what we're talking about today? I'm extremely loyal to Marco, and I appreciate the effort that he's made to partner with me on something that's passionate to me. And I think this is true for all employees. The stats really do bear it out as well, as far as employee retention, which is kind of an issue for the industry. These kind of things really affect these numbers. People want to share a cause. Showing up for a paycheck is not what the next generation of employees are about. The idea of gainful employment is not 2.5 kids and a white picket fence for millennials. They're definitely passionate about causes, and I think as an industry we need to start thinking about that.
Well, Jeff, I'd love to hear your thoughts still in the store about what are the pros and cons of it, you think?
I don't think there's any cons. One thing that
well, if you look like you're exploiting, I think it becomes a con.
Well,
and that's the gray line. That's the line.
For sure. Dealerships definitely need to be careful with that. The part that interests me the most, and I never even thought about this until Ryan and I were speaking over Messenger about this. I think that was last week, and it was the employee retention piece. So obviously that's a big pro for dealerships. A lot of us are in desperate need of keeping our employees, and I never even gave that. I really never even gave that a thought until Ryan brought that up. And he was showing me some stats. I was just, I don't want to say I was blown away. It was just a part that I didn't think about, employees wanting to work for a company that was passionate about, giving back to the community, giving back to different charities. I don't know, that really stuck out to me. And I was just like, wow, because I'm, being on the dealership level, I'm giving this some major thought. And, if it was up to me, we'd already be doing something like this. One good thing about this dealer group is, the owner gives a tremendous amount of funds and such to local charities, to some of the bigger charities. Mercedes-Benz does a lot of things with breast cancer and so forth. But again, I just never really given much thought to how that would affect employee retention.
Fragmented and fractured the dealership culture is. We silo, right? There's different profit centers, and sometimes they do this. If you're united with a cause, it limits some of that, I think. We're all in it together is one of these things you hear people say, but until I think it was Brad Pascal that said this to me. I might be misquoting him, but he said there's a difference when you're in the trenches building a house, Houses for Humanity or whatever it is. I can't remember the name. But he said there's a difference in the kinship that's built there than when you're looking at a P&L statement. There's some shared experience that really does create that camaraderie you need to be successful in the business. It's really important to me that we define terms, because I think there's a difference between charitable giving and cause marketing. They're both important and they're both good.
Yeah, those are important semantics.
It's not the same thing. And it's hard to talk about this right now with all the charitable giving that's great, that's going on and needed, but it's not the same as a cause-based marketing effort that a dealership would undertake. I think the difference, if you want to just put it into very simple terms, the difference between cause marketing and charitable contributions is the time frame. It's the commitment over time that makes it work. Obviously, pediatric cancer is a hot button for me, but if you look at what Hyundai has done with Hope on Wheels, they've been donating to this, not only the OEM, but the dealer community as well, since '98. And they've raised $130 million in grants that they've given to hospitals to help find a cure. That's a long time to commit to one cause. If you flip back and look at that definition, it's an important one, because what cause marketing is a mutual benefit between the people that are donating and the organization that's benefiting. There should be a mutual benefit there. I think one of the things that we miss in the dealership world, the dealer gets misrepresented.
If our customers, if our community knew how much the local dealerships really put back into the community, and a lot of them just don't talk about it. They don't brag about it, and they shouldn't. But if they knew, they would be absolutely surprised. There's no doubt in my mind. When you are doing some type of charity-based marketing, or you are giving back to the community, you want people to know, you want your customers, you want the community to know that you are a great organization and you are giving back to the community, but yet you don't want to do it in a way, and dealerships really need to be careful because they already have the finger being pointed at them.
Yep.
What are some ways that you've found that dealerships can do it in a sort of a nonchalant way without it coming across like they're bragging about it, but yet still getting the point across, getting the message across, and letting the local community know that look, we get back, and this is how we do it.
Yeah, Ryan, part of it, you did a cars.com DealerRefresh Roundtable on this. What did your research come up with for that?
Well, appreciate that, Tom. The roundtable was Wednesday. We had Jeff Clark from DealerOn and also Mike Moraes from Open Road Auto Group out in New Jersey. And
yeah, that was great.
The conversation was really around cause marketing. I had that image up, Ryan, that you had shared about cause marketing. And I think what I'm glad we're accomplishing here is distinguishing, the difference between charitable giving for like an event, right? Which is businesses and people coming together and raising, provide funding and resources to help people affected by an event. But cause marketing, is something that you get behind over the long term that fits in with your vision, adds a lot of value for the community, for the people that work there, and it's getting behind that cause. And so that's a really good distinction. What we talked about on the roundtable, which dealers can be a resource with nonprofit charitable organizations to be a center point within the community for people to donate their cars. According to Jeff Clark, over 800,000 vehicles were donated last year alone, to charity, which, Jeff, I think you'll agree, blew our minds away. That's like what, 200 a day? So there's a huge, I guess you could say, industry around, people's desire to donate their cars because there's tax breaks for them, for dealers to be, if you want to call it a repository or a local resource to make it possible. Apparently fewer than 1% of nonprofits are able to take on vehicle donations. So there's a need there.
Opportunity for dealerships.
Yeah, there's a need there. There's a desire. I think Jeff and I learned a lot. DealerOn has partnered with Dealers United and the Cause Network Foundation, they're basically, looking to form more of a movement, because there's some education needed here. Dealers need to understand the role that they can play, the opportunity at hand. Consumers need to understand what their options are, because there is a process that goes behind this.
There's an obligation for dealers to partner with the community, not just continue to take money out of it, and a strategy is better for the whole program. Now you talk about the DealerRefresh Roundtable, and this conversation is amazing. There's so much potential for dealers to impact their community, and right now dealers are actually the ones being impacted. And Brian, I know we also want to share with people some of the other communication tools. DealerRefresh. If you're not on the forums, get on the forums. Brian, where else can they find us, and what are some of the other programs where they can hear more about this? Where's that roundtable going to be for them? Here's
what we're going to do. The forums are a great tool, and they have been for many years. As Ryan, Les, as you've attested, Subies, everyone attests how valuable a resource the forums have been. So we're in the process of implementing premium membership access, and the forums are going to be a pivotal tool for that, to allow DealerRefresh to align with causes and with brands and with the entities out there and with the industry, and be kind of a bridge towards a lot of these initiatives going on. So, I think we all agree there's an opportunity there for DealerRefresh to take a role into cause marketing specifically. And so we're going to be using the forum as a tool for that. I think, just to wrap things up, guys, because we're coming down to the bottom of the hour. And Ryan, you're a longtime refresher. Definitely want to see you up here on a regular basis.
Grateful for the opportunity to talk with you guys. Thanks so much. I really do appreciate it.
We're on a hard break, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us on Refresh Friday. We'll see you next week, 12 o'clock Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, and you guys do the math on the rest of it. Thanks so much for listening in.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.